Hey everyone, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and welcome to the real estate investing video. Today I'm going to talk about the average profit on a fix and flip. So I hear a lot of stuff out there about some pretty big profits being made. So I want to talk about that and what I think of that and how accurate it is. And before we get started, of course, check out investformore.com for more information on my flips, my rentals, being an agent, tons of articles and lots of good information there. All right, so the reason I made this video is because if you watch my videos, you probably see the advertisements for a company that says the average profit on a flip is $66,000. And I see those on YouTube, I see them on Facebook, I see them all over the place. And my first thought when I hear that is, there's no way. There's no way the average profit is that high. So I want to dig into it and see where that number comes from and how accurate that number really is. And after doing a little bit of research, there's a company called Attom, Attom Data Solutions that comes up with lots of these numbers. And they come out with a quarterly report that shows the average profit on a fix and flip. And that's where that number comes from. I think in quarter one of 2018, the average profit was $66,000. In quarter two, it was like $69,000. And they talk about how they come up with this number. This is not something that comes from flippers. It's just pulled from data all across the country. And basically what they do is they look at any properties that have been purchased and sold within 1 year. So if you buy a house, end up selling it less than a year later, that counts as a flip. And then they take the gross profit. So what is that? The selling price minus the purchase price. So they took all the properties in the US that have sold within 1 year, subtracted what the people bought it from what they sold it for. So no expenses are included in that. There can be many other properties included in that. It's a very, very inaccurate number for what the average profit is on a house flip. So how do we figure out what the average profit is? It's not easy. You know, there's not flippers out there giving all their costs, showing everybody what they paid for financing, carrying costs, selling costs, buying costs, repairs. There's no way to know all that information. We can kind of try to gather it, but it's not easy either. And we also don't know how many of those houses were wholesale deals, where an investor came in, got a contract on a house or double closed in 1 day and sold the house for a $20,000 profit but made no repairs at all. That would bring that profit number down, as well as owner-occupied buyers who buy a house in February and then in December they have to move, so they end up selling it before they've owned it a year. They never planned to flip it. They didn't plan to make a bunch of money on it, but they still sold it within a year, so those numbers are in there. So I wrote an article on this today that goes into a lot of detail, but how do we figure out what the average profit is? First thing we can do is try and figure out what the costs are on a flip. We have repair costs. So repair costs could vary from $20,000 to $100,000, but we're going to use a $100,000 flip first. You buy a flip for $100,000, you may be spending $20,000 on repairs, maybe $5,000 to $7,000 on financing costs if you're financing it. You'll have carrying costs of $2,000 to $3,000 while you have the property. You'll have selling costs. You have to pay real estate agents, which could be 5 to 6%, depending on if you're an agent or not. Closing costs, title fees. There's all kinds of things, property taxes, homeowners insurance that you'll have. Basically, the costs on a $100,000 flip could be from $30,000 to $50,000 on a typical deal, depending on how many repairs there are. So if your gross profit is $66,000, your actual profit is going to be from $30,000 to zero, basically, depending on the property. So again, it's really hard to know what these could be. And if we go up in price to a $200,000 house, you're probably spending more on repairs, you're spending more on financing, you're spending more on property taxes, on insurance, you're spending much more on selling costs. You could be spending $70,000 or $80,000 in costs once everything is added up. So there goes all your profit. All of a sudden, flippers are making no money at all. It's all negative. It's a horrible business. Don't join it. But we can see that these numbers are completely inaccurate because they include wholesalers and homeowners. So if we just look at the flippers, that gross profit might be $100,000 or $150,000. But when you bring the wholesalers into it, who are making 10 grand on a deal, or maybe even 20 grand on a deal, they bring that average profit way down. And then you bring homeowners into it, and they bring that average profit even farther down, because maybe they buy a house for $100,000 and 8 months later they sell it for 105,000, or maybe they sell it for 90,000. They just have to move, something happened, an emergency. They bring that figure really far down. So there's really no way to figure out the average profit on a flip from those numbers. If we had better numbers, there might be a chance we could. If we knew the average price of the flips that was in this data, if we knew it was 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, that would help us figure out the cost better. And I actually emailed Attom Data Solutions to see if they'd help me with this. We'll see if they do or not. And if we knew they were only dealing with investors, that would help too. So I think it would be a really cool thing if Attom Data took their data from 1 month to 12 months. Because if they waited for properties that sold a month after they're bought, it would take away a lot of the wholesalers that are buying houses on the same day closings and signing contracts. That would make a pretty big difference. And something else that they might be able to do is to exclude owner occupants. If they only were getting data from investors, that would give us better numbers as well. But we don't have that data yet. I've been trying to find it, couldn't find it. Maybe it's there, I just didn't know where to look, but maybe at some point we'll get that data. So something else we can do is look at what my average profits are. So it might help a little bit. I have sold 16 flips so far in 2018, sold 26 last year. Historically, my profit numbers have always been right around $32,000 to $33,000 per flip. This year, I figured it out, it's closer to $40,000 per flip. So we are doing better this year. There's a few reasons for that though. One, our prices keep going up, so we have to keep paying more and more money for flips, putting more and more money into them, and I expect to make more profit on higher price deals. You just have to make more profit for the risk involved. So that's not too surprising our profit went up. And then also I do have more costs than just the purchase price minus our repairs. Well, I should say the selling price minus our repairs, carrying costs, holding costs, real estate commissions, buying costs, all of that. I also have a project manager I pay, I have an office, and other things that go into my business. But that gets even trickier because I have my own real estate brokerage, I have agents who sell houses, my project manager, Nikki, also sells houses. That brings me back money. So it's kind of confusing how to assign all of that versus, if it's just me doing it on my own and I worked at a home, I'd have much less expenses. So I'll just kind of assume my average profit on a flip is about $35,000 after taking the other costs away. That's a pretty good profit, but I've been doing this 17 years. I'm also in Colorado. I'm working at a higher price point. For people working at lower price points, they might not be making as much money. There's just not as much margin there. For people who are doing their first or second flip, they're probably not making as much money. They're just learning, they're figuring it out. For people in other markets like California, maybe they're making twice as much or 3 times as much per flip because prices are so much higher. So it's really hard to figure out what the average profit is per flip based on my experience as well. So really it's a big, giant guessing game, and nobody really knows what the average profit is per flip until we get better data and can really dig into this more. But if I had to put a number on it, if you said, Mark, give us your best guess, what is the average profit on per flip? I would probably say from 20 to 30,000, just based on the fact that many flips are being completed by newer investors now. Many investors are in different price points, and there's always something that comes up with flips that make you make less money than you think you will. So it's really hard to say what the average profit is. I can tell you for sure it is not $66,000. I mean, there's a very small chance it could be much higher than that, but my guess is it's much lower than that, probably in the $30,000, maybe even $20,000 range once you calculate all the expenses. And the company's using these numbers, I mean, it's pretty misleading. I'm surprised they're doing it. But any kind of marketing thing in the real estate world, you really have to take with a grain of salt, do your own research, because there's a lot of things out there that make the business look better than it is. It's a wonderful business and can be amazing, but it's not a get-rich-quick scheme and is not the magic pill that will save everybody. So that's all I've got for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you appreciated it. If you did, give us a thumbs up. If you have any comments, leave them below. I'll do my best to respond. And please subscribe to see more videos like this, or our fix and flip before and after videos, rental property videos, all kinds of other cool stuff we have. All right, take care.